Hello, I'm Doug Muzzio. This is another City Talk conversation on the 2008 presidential election. He's one of the great political orators of the last half century, at home both in the ethereal realm of ideas and the gritty world of politics. He resisted the urge to seek the presidency and turned down a nomination to the Supreme Court. He's been called Hamlet on the Hudson, a political brawler, a principled partisan, and the conscience of America. Most frequently, he's called Governor. These days, however, he's got another title, Professor. He's Mario Cuomo, the three-term governor of New York and an attorney at the law firm of Wilkie, Farr & Gallagher since he left the governorship in 1994. And in the fall 2008 semester, he's a professor of public affairs at Baruch College, teaching an undergraduate seminar, and I'm lucky enough to be teaching with him. Welcome back, Governor.
Good to see you again.
Why teach? Why undergraduates? Why Baruch?
Well, teaching is something I've always enjoyed. As a matter of fact, I went to Teachers College for a while. Teaching, I taught for 13 years in law school. So the real question is, why teach this year? Why teach a political course? I've been involved in presidential politics ever since I got involved in politics, basically. 1975, I was Secretary of State of the state of New York, and also headed up in New York Jimmy Carter's 1976 campaign. And every presidential election since then, I've kept an update, because I get invited to speak, to debate, to appear on radio shows,
Your files are really voluminous.
Well, and so I keep an update, and so the idea of teaching and all the work that goes into it was a little bit easier for me this time around, because I have this whole update, which I keep in any event. I do it every weekend. Now, why this year? Well, there's something special about this presidential election, in my opinion at least. All presidential elections raise important issues, significant issues, Watergate, the Cold War, etc. But I've never seen one, in my history at least, that created as many big, important issues as this one. The military issues, of course, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, all of that. And then middle-class malaise and the terrible economic problems we have and the need for alternative energy, and on and on and on. And so I looked forward to it with a special delight, because issues are my thing in these political campaigns. And Newt Gingrich and I, as a matter of fact, got together early on and said, he agreed with me totally.
At Cooper Union.
Well, and before that, we met, and he said, you know, you're right about this. He heard me on a radio show. And he said, we ought to do something about getting real debates, not the quickie 2 minutes on the subject, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, yes, great idea. And we did a debate that demonstrated what we wanted. And then we proceeded to try to get them to debate, and failed. They just wouldn't do it. Hillary didn't want to debate Obama. Obama didn't want to debate Hillary.
And the Republicans didn't want to debate either.
No, they didn't. Well, McCain's people said that they would and backed away. Giuliani's people said that they would and backed away. And so then we went to trying singles with them. Well, will you come and let us grill you? We used Timmy Russett, may rest in peace, et cetera, et cetera. And they were reluctant even to do that. John Edwards did it. Mike, our mayor, did it without ever saying he was interested in any public office.
Right, playing that choreography.
Yeah, but and at that point I was really unhappy. Now, I knew you. I knew Professor Frusher. She, as a matter of fact, has been in public service with me, or had been, for over 20 years, and so I knew her well. And she, of course, is on the faculty here. And a lot of people, Barbara Fife, and a lot of the trustees, Sandy, Maya Frusher. And so I know all these people and knew most of all Bernard Schwartz. Now, Bernard Schwartz has a school named after him at Baruch, and he's a Baruch graduate.
And in fact, he's on the syllabus for tomorrow night, so the students have to read it.
And he had me do 2 or 3 lectures for him. Also, Baruch, the City College, is a kind of favorite thing for me because as a governor, I realized how vital the state and city colleges are, especially now in the world of high skills, where if you don't have 4 years after high school education, you're not considered high skilled and you're in trouble trying to get a job. And so Baruch has a good reputation in terms of achieving that goal, and it is the most diverse of the schools, it seems to me.
The most diverse in the country.
I did a lecture, and I allowed myself to be grilled by you on one occasion. And so at one point, I think it was Flosser who said, Professor Fruscia who had said, why don't you, you've come, you've done lectures, why don't you try to do something on the campaign? And that's when I talked to you, and the next thing we knew, we were doing 14 Wednesday nights, all about the issues.
And you do 14 weeks. Every class, you are very well prepared. You're a good co-teacher. I mean, a little bit difficult to control on occasion, but other than that, fine. Okay, let's look at the course and weave in your analysis that we're doing during the course. The course is titled The 2008 Presidential Election, Where We Are as a Nation, Where We Want to Be, and How We Get There. Clyde Haberman at the time said that was a fairly extensive and somewhat awkward title, but that's the title. Explain the rationale behind the course.
Well, what the course aims for is 14 of the most important issues, at least 14 of the most important issues. We actually get more of those in. And the way I approach issues is, what is the function of issues? Why are we arguing about these things? Well, what we're trying to do is get the best possible nation we can, and the best leadership to achieve that best nation that we can get. So the question then becomes, well, okay, what is our objective? What do we want to be as a nation? How close to what we really want to be are we? And what do we do about it if we're not close enough? Now, that first question is not an easy one. What do we want to be as a nation? You have a couple of choices. You could be 300 million disassociated individuals who are given considerable individual liberty and freedom, thank God, with the Bill of Rights. And the rest is a matter of economic struggle, basically, between you and all the competitors out there in the field. Individuality, personal responsibility, 300 million people like that. Or you could perceive yourselves as a family, or more like a family, where there's some degree of obligation to one another as a group. That's my favorite. We have wrestled with those two notions from the beginning. And politically, it is not a distinct dividing line all the time, but politically, to the extent that we still have ideology, the ideology very much centers on that individuality as opposed to communitarianism. And all that's what the title of the course is designed to describe, these essential issues. What do you want to be? And if you want to be a community, which is my desire, how do you get there? If you want to be individuals, how do you get there? What do you have to do less of? To be a community, what do you have to do more of? Those are all the questions.
Your reaction so far.
And if Haberman thinks it's too long, I'll think up a shorter title.
I like it. So it takes the full width of the syllabus as well. Your reaction so far. You're having fun. You're liking this.
I'm an ontologist. I like being. I mean, being is good. Life is good. And losing life is a very bad thing. So I like activity. Teaching, we've talked about this more than once because we've both been teachers, you for a longer time than I, but teaching teaches. I mean, not just the students, it teaches you.
But that's the best. Yes. That's why you always do a new course.
That's right. And I'm learning, and I'm having fun learning, and I'm reading, and I'm having fun reading. And you're very good at assigning a lot of reading, incidentally.
Well, excuse me. But you're a good student. Well, we've got good students, too.
Yeah. Oh, no, we have terrific students. And so I'm enjoying it. I hope the students are enjoying it as much as I am.
Well, you know they are. I mean, they stay, you know, they've asked you to stay an extra half hour. I mean, we end at 9 instead of 8:30. What have you learned, and what do you hope they're learning?
First of all, let me suggest to you that they're saying they don't want to leave at 8:30. They want to stay until 9. Might mean that we're not getting it across by 8:30.
No, it's that, you know, we have so many brilliant things to say, and you start the class. I've got to clean up after you, so remember that.
Right.
So, what have you learned?
Oh, well, I've learned a lot of specific things on the issues, a lot of details that would have escaped me if all I did was practice law all day long.
Sure.
But what I've learned about these students is heartening, I think. These are bright, they're not all very, very young people. They're different ages, very, very diverse in terms of ethnicity, etc. I suspect, without knowing, there's even a considerable amount of diversity in terms of where they come from economically and what their economic. But they are very bright and very interested, which is even better than being bright. I mean, they want to know, they want to learn. They ask wonderful questions. They're persistent, and they're fun. They have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I think we need much more than that. The truth is, no one should graduate college or even high school in this country without knowing more about civics and government. We're appalling in our lack of understanding. We get such a tiny percentage of the potential vote. What is it, 20%? I mean, it's 30 or 40% of the registered voters, the people who are qualified, but a much smaller percentage of that even show up to vote, even in a presidential election. And then a lot of them know the Super Bowl lineup better than they know the issues. So these students strike me as different. They're intelligently involved. They know that their life and the life of all the people they love and the whole community depends to a large extent on what they're doing politically.
And they keep us on our toes.
Oh yeah, that for sure.
That's the best. Okay, let's turn to some of the themes that we've been discussing in the course and related to what's happening today and will happen tomorrow. Debates. You've been critical of debates as conducted and of American political discourse in general. What have you seen over the last year and year and a half? And what should we have seen and what should we be seeing now in terms of this dialogue?
Well, I think you have to start by deciding what is it you're trying to achieve in this campaign. You're trying to find out who the best or better now, there are only 2 left that are significant, who the better president would be. Well, okay, what do you have to know who the better president would be? What his level of intelligence is, what his level of commitment is, what his level of inspirational capacity is, what he knows, what he doesn't know. How do you get that?
His judgment?
His judgment. What's the best way? And something about his persona, his personality. And
character.
Is he nice? Is he agreeable? How do you get that? What's the best way to do it? How does this strike you? Here's what we should do. We should put a lot of them on the stage at the same time in the primary, or both of them on the stage at the same time. Don't tell them the question you're going to ask them. Why? I thought we wanted to know what their position was. Yeah, we want to know if he can remember it from the last time he said it.
Or the briefing book.
That's right. So we want to play gotcha. You know, it's more exciting that way. Maybe we'll catch them. Or maybe, you know, we want people who have a good memory. That's like in high school. You know, look at this guy. He did it without notes. I don't want that. That tests glibness, perhaps. It tests your memory. I don't want a glib president. I don't want a glib president talking to Putin, frankly. And so I want somebody who's really prepared to tell me in the campaign precisely what his or her, in this case his, position is. And even if he had to write it out in advance and come and say, here it is, I present it to you, that would satisfy me more. Okay, so in terms of knowing him, the debate mechanism that we use doesn't work well, knowing his positions. And that, to me, is the most important thing. But the debate does a lot of other things. And it will do it with Palin. Everybody's waiting to hear Palin and Joe Biden. How do they handle it when, do they look at one another? McCain got accused of not looking at Obama. Oh, my goodness.
But wait a minute.
Yeah.
You making light of this.
Yes.
We haven't talked about the debate, and we will in class this week.
Does that mean I have to take back what I just said?
Well, you may have to. Now, we'll see. I think you learned a lot about both of the candidates in that election, in that debate, rather. Number one, you got a sense of how they think and what type of people they are. And I think that McCain not looking and being very aggressive said something about the way he is that could be determinative for a lot of people in terms of his character. No?
So let's stop. If he had known the question and been given more time, you would have known more about how he thinks and how he reacts.
No, I don't know about his reaction.
You don't get that by playing gotcha.
No, I agree.
All right, I agree. So if you really want to know how he thinks, give him more time to describe it. Give him more time to prepare it for you.
I agree. We agree on this, but the point is that debate took place last Friday within certain format parameters.
And I didn't like the parameters. That's right.
Talk to the format.
I don't like the format. The format should be something closer to what Gingrich and I did, I think. And that was, look, pick one subject. Let's make it middle-class malaise, the plight of the middle class. Incidentally, very important thing. 3% of the people make, 1% make $1 million, 3% make over 500,000. 13%, what percent are poor? Everybody else is middle class, okay? So I'll give you 1 hour to talk about the middle class. And you tell me whatever you want to tell me about the middle class. You're the president. We know they're in trouble. Tell me what you know about the trouble, and what you 1.5 hour. Then I'm going to give.
This is bad TV, by the way.
And then I'm going to give.
Watching?
Well, they liked it when Gingrich and I did it.
Yeah, but that's a small elite audience.
No. It was a television. It was C-SPAN.
Oh well, I was in the audience. Excuse me. I didn't know.
That by itself made it elite.
Oh, thank you.
Anyway, so take a 1/2 hour to do it. Give the other guy a 1/2 hour to do it, and have Tim Russert, may he rest in peace, God bless him. And he and I worked together. He was my first public information person. Have him grill both of you for 45 minutes. And that's what he did.
I know.
Now, that was good. And at the end, everybody cheered. And they weren't cheering Gingrich, and they weren't cheering me. They were cheering the format. They liked the format, and everybody said so.
Okay. So your objections to the format and possible solutions, but within the format that existed, how did you see the debate? How did you assess it? What was the outcome or outcomes as you saw it?
I wrote, and I think I wrote this in notes for tomorrow night's lecture.
The class.
Tomorrow night's lecture, yeah. And what I wrote was no revelations on either side. Obama wins on points. No knockout. No real knockdown.
What are the points? What did they need to do, and what did they do, and what didn't they do?
Well, what they did, easier to describe than what they needed to do, but what they did, in Obama's case, he was extremely specific on the issues. He was extremely knowledgeable. He was effective, I think, in countering McCain. When McCain accused him of being ignorant and wrong on certain subjects, he then listed 6 or 7. Were very effective. It would be in a high school class, in a college, in a law school, and it was in a debate. He was restrained. He was in command. He was poised. So his persona shone, and that's been his biggest weapons so far, and his greatest gifts are his brilliance, his intelligence, and his persona. A kind of easy manner about him, self-assured without being arrogant, I think. And so that's what he was. McCain struck me, especially in the beginning, as a little bit off a little bit maybe tired, and that might
He
have
may
been
have been off because of this whole economy thing that we've been talking about in class and will again in the next class. Go ahead.
Whatever the reason was, he was off.
Yep.
He wasn't strong. He got stronger as he got closer to foreign policy,
Right.
and he was at his strongest when he was deep into foreign policy, where he could start naming countries and premiers, et cetera,
right.
et cetera. And so he held his own from that point on. How did the people see it? I don't know. What contribution did it make? On the biggest issue of our last few years, this economy, it made no difference. They didn't say a thing.
Lara tried.
And therein is the reason I got involved in the course. They wouldn't deal specifically with the issues. If you wanted to deal specifically with it, you'd have to say, I'm for this, or I'm against it, and here's how I would do it, and here's why it's right. And here. Now, why don't they do that? Because it's not good for them politically. Because if they had done that, they would be committing themselves to a very contentious issue, and that would have lost them a lot of people.
McCain, in a sense, did that, and he seems to be paying some price for that.
Well, he didn't. McCain, I don't know what he did. I mean, McCain is a flailer, you know, and he's a puncher, and he takes his shot, and sometimes it scores and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what he was trying to do with I think he was just trying to interrupt the flow. The flow was against him.
Break the rhythm of the game.
Yeah.
And the polling, ABC had come out that morning with a poll that showed Obama ahead 52-43 because of the economy.
And so he tried to do something that would change it. Incidentally,
another big play, but he did the same thing with Palin. This is out of the Nixon playbook. This big play changed the course of the game.
I think probably the McCain people say it was unfair of you to say the Nixon playbook.
They're not going to react to what I say, but go ahead.
Yeah, no. So he was off. Incidentally, since he is looking for things to change the game is Obama is now in drive. Obama's in that vehicle, and he's in drive, and this thing is moving. He doesn't have to do anything except wait for the days to, the pages to come off the calendar.
You really think that?
Well, I think he's doing well, and he's moving consistently forward. I think he's getting stronger. And if I were McCain, this would be the moment for me to think something up. What do you do with your Republicans who didn't vote for the bill and killed the bill and produced that terrible shocked reaction that we got Monday night?
With the market going down 777.
So I would think McCain now, with that instinct for, I have to do something big, I have to do something aggressive, must be thinking about that very hard. That he should be.
Okay, let me raise something that I will know that will, get you rolling here.
Uh-oh.
McCain has said that he agrees essentially with Reagan's observation that government is the problem. I mean, in his first inaugural address, Reagan said, government is not the solution to our problem, government is the problem. Is that Reagan rule, if you will? Is that been shattered here?
First of all, it's not the Reagan rule. It's the Reagan rhetoric. It's the Reagan.
Okay, well, let's call it the Reagan rhetoric.
It's the presumed Reagan legacy. It's the Reagan myth. It is not what Ronald Reagan was. Now, I knew Ronald Reagan fairly well, and as a matter of fact, he did something that we haven't talked about in class yet, and maybe next class, the National Economic Commission. He appointed a National Economic Commission at my suggestion. I was criticized for it, so was he. So I knew him fairly well and talked to him more than once and was the gridiron speaker for him one year and had a lot of fun with him and sat with his wife for 4 hours while he sat with Matilda. Reagan never, Reagan said all of that about government, no question. Big government is bad. But he never even came near touching big government.
Right.
Except to make it bigger on the military side, okay? And that's true of all the presidents, all the conservative presidents, and none of them ever touch Social Security. They try sometimes, Medicare, the military, the big programs. And when you don't touch those, you've left 64% of the place untouched. As a matter of fact, they've all thought up big government programs. Eisenhower. Nobody's going to say that Eisenhower wasn't a true Republican. He thought up the highway system. Nixon thought up, he had all sorts of social plans that didn't get through, but that he proposed. The space program, Eisenhower and Kennedy, but again Eisenhower. You know, we spend about $19 billion a year on space, and nobody ever asks, what are we getting for it? $19 billion a year.
What about the other dimensions? No. So the bottom line is that that was never the reality, but is the rhetoric dead?
No, the rhetoric will never die because it means too much to the people who use it. They need it. Here's something else about Reagan. He gave us the biggest tax cut in history up till that time. He also gave us the biggest tax increases. Now hear this, and I'm sure there'll be people out there who are going to write us letters saying you're full of baloney, and I look forward to that.
You got a minute.
Okay. He gave the biggest tax increase after he gave the biggest tax cut. He raised the Social Security taxes and raised taxes 6 times for about $90 billion worth in the second half of his why, because the deficit and debt he created was so great he couldn't live with it, so he raised taxes on the wealthiest people in the country. That's a new one for you.
Okay. We've got just a little bit of time left. Quick. This is, a lightning round.
Do true, false.
Right. Are the Dems going to blow this?
We have the capacity to do it. I hope we won't be dumb enough to do it.
How does Obama lose?
Well, Obama can lose by making a mistake. Obama can lose by people saying, well, you did everything right except you weren't specific enough. Obama could lose if McCain came up with some super idea that gets us back on track with the economy, etc. He could. I don't think it's likely. I don't think it will happen. I hope it does not happen. I would rather have Obama's intelligence, Obama's positions on the issues as I understand them, than McCain's intelligence and McCain's position on the issues. I think especially on foreign policy, which we haven't talked a lot about, I think McCain is just a little bit too quick on the trigger for my taste.
Okay. Thank you very much. You're coming back after the election, and we'll talk about the course and what happened?
Well, I think that's part of the course. We're
okay.
That was built into the course.
You're on.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Doug Muzzio. Let us know what you think about this show. You can reach us at CUNY.TV. When you get there, click on the bar that says Contact Us and send your email. Whatever it is. Thanks, no thanks, obnoxious, do it. Send it.